Now, what I'm going to be looking at are three key points. First of all, the fact that advancement is what makes us human in one sense, and education is how we get advancement. Two, the fact that some people are unable to get education, and it ends up incredibly negatively impacting their lives. And three, we're going to be looking at the budget cuts for education. Now education is a very, very important thing in human history. Education is how people have been able to understand, for example, that these chairs will not break very easily. That's how people have been able to understand how to mold metal. And this is how humans have advanced.
Hello, I would like to thank my judge for judging, and I would like to start off my speech by rebutting some of my opponent's points. He stated that education is basically the key factor to human survival. How does that prove that the world's biggest problem is education? Yes, he might have stated that it's important, but he hasn't stated how there's a shortage of it or how it's affecting the world in a negative way. He just stated how it makes us understand how chairs are made correctly. And now I'd like to say some of my points. Now, even without education, people can still get successful jobs, and you can live successful lives. Take the ancient times. There wasn't much education to go around, and people still lived their lives to the fullest through farming and other things that could bring their civilization to prosperity. And also, even smart people who are educated enough make stupid choices. Okay.
There we go. Okay, great. Listen time. All right, 3 minutes cross-X starts now.
As the affirmation, may I please have the first question?
Sure.
You said it in a manner that you said that not understanding how chairs are made effectively isn't important. Now, I know it may seem just trivial at the time, but look at every single thing in this room. Everything has been through some kind of different factory, plant, or some person has just made it. And that shows that without our education, we wouldn't be able to have this classroom, we wouldn't be able to have these suits, we wouldn't be able to even have the written language. And we all know that these are some of the most important fundamentals of human society.
That doesn't show how education is currently a problem. The resolution is that the biggest problem in the world is lack of education. How does that apply to that?
Currently, there are hundreds of thousands of people that, because of poverty, are unable to get education. And this becomes a vicious cycle when they end up needing education to get the jobs, which would end up giving them the money to get education. This shows that we simply need to find a way to get education to every citizen. In this way, we can further advance human development.
Okay. So you basically just dropped your entire point that you made in your first speech and came up with this entirely on your own.
No.
How does understanding the fundamentals of making chairs or making anything in general connect with your point about making poverty in the world and how that connects to education?
Major poverty in the world stops education. Without education, we can't have as much knowledge as we would with it. And this shows that anything in the world, we need education. But some people cannot get it because of poverty. And for that reason, education is the biggest problem in the world, because if left unsolved, we'll end up with the downfall of essentially every single person who can't afford it.
How does that relate to your first and basically your only point that was basically just saying how education is fundamentally making chairs?
Education is fundamentally making anything. And here's how it relates. Humans need to make things. If we didn't, well, we'd still be sitting in a forest or a desert. I mean, sure, we might have some wisdom. School can't teach you that. But we wouldn't have really anything else that we would have here. And how it relates to my 3 points, one of them was some people cannot get education. And this is one of the biggest problems in society right now.
Alright, so then 1 minute for, okay. You ready?
So my opponent said that he made 3 points in which he only elaborated on one of them, and the fact that education is important and it leads to making chairs. And I would like to point out that his point about people not getting enough education would probably be his most important point, but he didn't elaborate on that. So here's what I tell you. There isn't a lack of education. Many people are getting educated, and education is not just going to school. You learn things every day. Maybe one day you learn how to hold chopsticks correctly. Maybe another day you learn a new language. But that doesn't mean that you have to go to school to get education. Education is abundant. The entire world has it. People, even poor people in North Korea, they're learning new things, how to farm something correctly, how to do well in school, how to excel in school, and all of that. And that's why there is that's why a shortage of education isn't a problem in the world right now.
My opponent has still failed to rebut my point about education being the most important thing that we currently have. And he has also failed to rebut the point that people are not getting enough education without just simply stating that. He has just simply stated that people are getting enough education. But a claim without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. So, currently we have hundreds of thousands of people in poverty. And if we want to increase human society, increase human knowledge, basically advance to the next stage in human history, we're going to need everybody on board. This includes the people that normally cannot afford it. This shows that not having enough education is what's stopping us from going to the next stage in human history. Thank you.